You are about to enter the story scroll, where every tale unfolds like a secret whispered in the dark. Ready to unravel the mystery? Let's go. It was a dark and stormy night in Boston in 1919. A massive wave of molasses 25 feet high suddenly slammed into the city. It ripped apart buildings, crushed dozens of people, and coated the entire neighborhood in a sticky, sweet sludge. To this day, people are still trying to clean it up. This was no ordinary wave. It smelled like death and sugar. In the North End neighborhood, a poor working-class district, stood a massive storage tank holding 2 million gallons of molasses. On the morning of January 15th, something inside the tank gave way. There was a deafening explosion and metal rivets shot through the air like bullets. Then, the unthinkable happened. A wave of thick black molasses surged out of the tank and swept through the streets. The wave moved at 35 miles per hour, faster than most cars can go. People had only seconds to react. As the wave approached, some tried to run away, but it was too late. The molasses toppled their houses and crushed their cars like soda cans. In total, 21 people died. 150 were injured. Those who survived the initial wave were not safe yet. The molasses was still pouring out of the tank and engulfing the entire neighborhood. It was thick, sticky, and as dark as night. Survivors described it as a heavy, syrupy substance that was impossible to breathe through. For 2 days, cleanup crews worked to remove the molasses. They spread it on the ground to dry in the freezing cold. But it was a losing battle. The sticky residue clung to everything and soaked into the ground, polluting the water supply. Some parts of Boston were stuck under a literal sea of molasses. It would take months to clean it all up. And for decades afterward, locals swore they could still smell the molasses every summer, a sickly, sweet reminder of the tragedy. So, who was responsible for this disaster? The company that owned the tank, the United States Industrial Alcohol Company, claimed sabotage. But investigators found that wasn't true. The tank had been built poorly and was riddled with weak spots. It had been leaking molasses for years, and the company had simply ignored the problem. After the disaster, they tried to avoid responsibility, claiming the accident was caused by a mysterious bolt from out of the blue. But they lost in court and were ordered to pay out millions of dollars to victims. In the end, the company went bankrupt. This disaster was one of America's first major corporate liability cases. Before this, many companies had limited liability, meaning they could easily avoid responsibility for damages. But after the molasses flood, things began to change. Companies were now forced to take responsibility for the safety of their products and the well-being of consumers. Today, the site of the disaster is marked with a plaque that reads, "On January 15, 1919, a storage tank at the corner of Commercial Street and Lewis Wharf burst, sending a wave of molasses 25 feet high and 35 miles an hour through the North End." Property damage was estimated at $10 million. 21 people died and many more were injured. Below the plaque is a time capsule filled with items from the disaster, including a brick covered in molasses, a piece of the destroyed wharf, and a lock of hair from one of the victims. The Great Molasses Flood is both bizarre and tragic, a story that proves even something as harmless as sugar can turn deadly when greed and neglect mix. Thank you for watching. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. If the story gripped you, subscribe. The scroll never ends.